Okay, you guys, I have a video that you guys really loved about how to be physically intimate in your relationship without sinning. And this is a follow-up video to that because you guys loved it, but there are also things you can do in your relationship to be intimate that are not sexual. And as I mentioned before, dating is kind of a long business. You guys are probably going to be dating for months and months and months. You're going to be engaged also. So you're going to have lots of time, probably over a year, before you are able to be married and engage in that really deep, beautiful, rich physical intimacy. So I am going to come back here with some practical ideas for things you can do that are very, very intimate, but that are not sexual. So the first thing that I'm going to suggest is learning the other person's thing. So one of like a little story from our relationship, my husband was a competitive sailor. He sailed at our university. He really loved it. I loved being on boats, but I liked being on motorboats, and I'd never, ever been on a sailboat in my entire life. Turns out there's a lot of stuff to learn about sailing. Those of you who are used to watercraft will be like, duh. Those of you who have never been on a boat before are going to be like, really? Because that was me. So it was really fun for him to teach me all about sailing. Things like this thing that the sail is on, right, that you moved so you can catch the wind is called the boom. Apparently it's called the boom in part because it can whack you on the head and it makes a sound boom, right? Like it was so funny when he was teaching me that. It was less funny when I got whacked in the head by the boom. But it was really enjoyable for us to spend a lot of time out on the water on this boat while he was teaching me this stuff. It is really vulnerable to learn a new thing. It requires gentleness and patience and creating a safe space. I'm a therapist. I use the phrase safe space all the time. It's a good phrase, but I roll my eyes a little bit because colloquially people think it's silly, but it's true. Creating a safe space for vulnerability allows you to feel safer, to feel closer to the person. It draws you guys together, and few things create that kind of vulnerability like learning something new. So it requires the person learning to be in that vulnerable space of receiving. It requires the other person to be like gentle and diligent in teaching. And then you guys not only have a lot of like fun things to talk about, but you also have fun things to do, right? You have memories that you're creating, but then you have these new things to learn. So that's my favorite example. I use it from our story all the time. It's been such a gift to like know how to sail now and to be able to do that together when we can. But also it allows for like really great, wholesome time together when you're dating. So each of you have things, figure out what your things are, share them with each other, and then you will be shocked at how intimate this is and how close you guys are together. Number 2, foster situations where you can have honest conversations. The typical time when you can have honest conversations is a date. That is what a date should be for. Dates in America, in our like post-courting era, have turned into like sitting on the couch and watching Netflix, or sitting in a car somewhere and doing physical intimacy, or whatever. It basically has lent itself to situations where physical intimacy is like the end goal of your time together, which almost always leads to, if not sex, then definitely climax activities, right? And usually the next morning you're like, I don't love that happened. The reason it happened is because you put yourself in a situation where that was the activity for the date, physical intimacy, right? So I am posing that you put yourself in situations where good, wholesome conversations are the end result. If you foster your dates around that, like we're going to work to have good conversation here, then you're naturally doing activities that lend to that, like going out on walks, going to restaurants, those sorts of things, not like going and sitting and watching a movie either at the theater or at home, or does that make sense? Laying in someone's bed and cuddling, like, no. Go to a place that fosters good conversation, because in those conversations, you're able to have a really deep emotional intimacy. And there is a lot of really good, beautiful stuff, vulnerable stuff that can come out in those conversations when you create the space to have them, to talk to each other, to have the conversations. Number 3 is using physical intimacy that draws your hearts closer together, but does not necessarily arouse the two of you, right? So my other video, I talk a little bit about the reasons behind this and some more depth to it, but I'll just mention here that things like holding hands, things like cuddling when you're both sitting up, like cute snuggling, not like I'm laying on top of you, horizontal snuggling. Those are the sorts of things that can increase intimacy. And I did want to include them on the list because it's worth knowing that you can have physical intimacy that isn't sexual intimacy. And sometimes the sweetness of like a kiss on the forehead is so much more sweet and intimate than like a big sloppy tongue kiss, right? Because there's just something so beautiful. Number 4, pickleball. Listen, I think everybody should try pickleball at one time or another. Pickleball is an excellent sport because it doesn't require a ton of skill. It's not like tennis where like you have to learn the rules. You have to learn the like way that it's scored, which is very quirky and like specific to tennis. Pickleball is great. You just pick up a little paddle and you'll whack a ball across a fence to each other. Back where I'm from in Texas, there is this like really awesome restaurant called Chicken and Pickle, and you can go there and you can like play pickleball and you can like eat food. So fun. Probably those don't exist everywhere, but I'm sure you can find a pickleball court somewhere. You can get pickleball rackets and balls for like $20 on Amazon, totally worth the investment, and go play pickleball, right? Even if you're not an athletic person, you can stand there and whack a ball over a fence. It may not be your most favorite activity, but it's something that is exercise. It's something that will like get you outside. It's something that will like let you be out in the fresh air. It's a focus activity. Like we're going to go play pickleball for 2 hours and then we're going to grab a meal and then we're going to go home separately. You know, like those are the sorts of things that are fun and intimate, that are like you laugh a lot. Like especially if you're not going to be good at pickleball, then you'll probably be laughing a lot at each other. If you are really, really competitive people, then you maybe need to add something really sweet and fun at the end, like ice cream or something, because sometimes really competitive couples end up like bickering with each other. But that would be a good thing to know. If playing pickleball together gets you into a fight because you're really competitive, that's worth having a conversation about at the restaurant afterwards. Okay, my producer also wants me to say you could play something like Ultimate Frisbee. You could play like flag football, though I feel like that takes more people. That takes more people than two. I don't know, whatever. My producer has said that there are other sports you can do besides pickleball. I was just going to leave it at pickleball. But if you want to play something else, go play something else. But a sport where the two of you are playing together, where the goal of the date, the time together, is this sport that you're playing. There's a start, there's an end, it's done. You go out for a drink or something after and it's really fun. Totally do it. Sports. Number 5 is my course called Next Step. It feels a little bit self-serving. The one thing I'm very bad about when it comes to this sort of thing is like marketing myself. I'm not very good at that. So I always get a little awkward. But you know what? The truth is I created this program for you because it was a program I wanted. I discerned marriage twice. I discerned marriage once very seriously with someone I ended up breaking up with, and a second time with someone who ended up being my husband. So I have done both ends of it. I've really focused discerned marriage with people, and the answer was no. And then another time when the answer was yes. I created this course for you guys so that you would be able to walk through what the church teaches about God's design for marriage, walk through what John Paul II teaches in Theology of the Body, learn about really practical things like finances and your family culture and sexuality and like really practical communication, conflict resolution, like really practical stuff that will help you guys to bond as a couple. The course itself is extremely emotionally and spiritually intimate because it goes into a lot of different questions. Well, first of all, it goes into education, and learning about what God has in mind for you is so exciting that like thrill of hope can really draw your hearts together and really give you something to fight for. And humans love having a goal to fight for. So doing that, kind of like learning the ideal, having the conversations that are really important about like really deep stuff, making sure that you're spending time talking about these things, all of those are great. So my team and I created this really beautiful course, this program that is just so good, and I really think that you would benefit from it. If you are interested in looking into this course that was literally created for you, for this season of life that you're in, there's really nothing else out there that is created for couples who are wanting to discern marriage, who are wanting this really beautiful depth of intimacy that you can achieve in a relationship without the sexual component. Next Step is for you. You can find the link in the description. I hope you love it. Number 6 is go to confession together. Here's the thing. When you kneel before the Lord and when you see the person that you're discerning marriage with kneel before the Lord, there is something so powerful about recognizing that they know and you know that you are not God. When you are willing to have the humility to say, I messed up, I am really sorry, what can I do to make it better? That is the sort of thing that really creates a space of safety, that really creates a vulnerability. When you are willing to go to that sacrament of reconciliation, just by yourself, but also together as a couple, when it becomes a part of your culture as a couple, that lends itself really beautifully to number 7, which is say you're sorry to each other. Apologizing is one of those things that we feel like is just really hard and yucky, and a lot of people aren't taught how to do it. When they're kids, they don't learn how to say they're sorry. They don't see their parents saying they're sorry. They don't learn how to like go through, I'm sorry, I forgive you. How can I make it better? Let's fix it. Like they don't go through that. They don't learn it. So it's really uncomfortable for a lot of people. It is a critical step in marriage, but it also has the added benefit of being really, really intimate, right? When you can acknowledge that you were wrong and you hurt this person, especially when you can be like, here's where I was coming from. Like, here's the area of brokenness or woundedness in my heart that led me to hurt you this way. Like, when you can have these rich, authentic conversations about where you are and what you've done, and you're able to show like, I want to make it better. Like, you show your love for the other person through your humility and your willingness to fix it. That is so intimate. So intimate. Highly recommend. So those are my 7 things. If you have any more, add them in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this.